And there you have it. Chris Sale has signed with the Tampa Bay Rays. That is a coup right there, ladies and gentlemen. An absolute steal. Chris Sale, 5 years, $65 million, only 3 years guaranteed, and he is on Tampa Bay. That is how we do it. So there we go. Coming off a down year, one in which he did have surgery on his torn labrum. But we think he's going to bounce back, and we are pretty excited to have him here in Tampa Bay. So that's our big move of the offseason. We improved the rotation now. We do have one guy who we could possibly move at this point, because adding Sale in there gives us 6 starters in addition to the, or 5 starter. Well, he gives us 1 more in addition to the 5 you already had. So now we have 6. We could move 1. We could put 1 in the bullpen. We've got some options. We still also have a little bit of money to spend potentially on the bullpen. So we've got these 3 guys right here, Colomb, Morin, and Rivero. But after that, definitely some question marks. Birdie wasn't that great last year, although I think we definitely want him back in there next year, and hopefully he will improve. Barrett, definitely a question mark. Definitely not a guarantee for the roster. In fact, he probably won't be on the roster next year, if I had to guess. Seagrass is probably going to be in there along with Biagini and Farquhar. But after that, I think that last spot between Guerri and Barrett could definitely be swapped out for either one of our pitchers, or we could go out and sign somebody. We do have some money to spend, but the thing is, when you look at our rotation now, so if we throw Sale in there as the number 1, then we've got Snell, Perez, DeLeon, Honeywell. I want Archer in there because I want him to have the chance to bounce back. Hopefully we can get his value back up. Right now, it's not worth trading him at this point, so he's going to be on the roster no matter what. So after that, I mean, I want to keep, the thing is, I don't want to trade Snell, DeLeon, or Honeywell, because these are the guys you have to keep when you're the Tampa Bay Rays. These are the controllable guys, who are going to be on the team and make nothing for the next couple of years. And even though Snell's only got 1 year before he hits arbitration, that's still a really valuable year at $535,000. So the odd man out's Martin Perez, but I don't really want to trade Martin Perez, because I feel like if we're going to be good next year, Perez is going to have to be that sort of number 3 guy. But he is the only realistic, or not the only realistic trade candidate. I don't want to phrase it like that, but the only guy that I am pretty much willing to trade at this point. So these are the offers, and I'm just really not that overwhelmed by any of them. Mostly veterans. We could get, a couple different really elite relievers, but the reason I would want to trade Perez is because we could use his money and reinvest that in the free agent market, and I'd probably reinvest that in a reliever, so it doesn't make sense to trade him for another big money reliever. This is the one that kind of interested me because we would save a little bit of money doing this, getting Doolittle, who only makes $6 million for the next 2 years. But at the same time, we don't save that much money, and Perez is just definitely, he's got to be more valuable considering he's a starter. And then other than that, obviously we've kind of talked about how we think our outfield is for the most part set, and the infield is really where we want to improve, but I'm not getting great offers from teams with infielders. This Joe PANIK trade maybe isn't that bad, but even then he makes probably a little bit more money than I would want to pay him. And past that, Colton Wong, kind of the same deal. That's not a huge contract, but he hasn't been that good, so even though his ratings are nice. What do the scouts say? Fundamentally sound hitter. So the scouts think he's a good hitter, but we know he plays a good second base. That's one you would have to consider, Martin Perez for Colton Wong. But past that, Dozier makes like 20-something million, so we just are not going to be able to take that on. And other than that, the big offers for the most part are pretty much relievers, so it doesn't really leave us with many options. This is kind of interesting to me. In wake of potentially doing a move for Colton Wong, I thought, well, let me look at, what offers I could get for Richard Urena, a guy I've talked about in the past I don't really want to give up on quite yet, so I'm not just going to give him away. I want to actually get something in return for him, but I see Colton Wong's name pop up, and Dylan Betances'. And Betances is an interesting guy because I've sort of talked about how if I wanted to get a big money reliever, I would really only want one on a 1-year deal, because I'm going to want to have money moving forward to re-sign some of our younger players and be able to afford them as they hit arbitration. And Betances is kind of perfect for that because he's got 1 year left. If we get him now, then we are going to be able to get value back for him at the end of the year in the form of a compensation pick if we are a good team and we're not gonna be in a position to sell him off at the deadline. And he is inconsistent in this game, but he's been very good the last 2 years for New York. In these simulations, so I like to see that. I'm wondering, I saw him, offered up for Perez as well. I'm wondering for both him and Wong what the cheapest sort of offer we could propose to them that they would accept, because I feel like both of these guys are relatively attainable. Now you see the offers for Betances. They want something. I think Urena, honestly, out of all these guys, Urena and Perez are probably the two guys I value the least out of everyone on that list. And I'm sure it's going to be a pretty similar list for Kolten Wong, because honestly I thought Betances we would have the better shot at sort of getting on the cheap. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we will be able to get a good offer for Wong. No, pretty much the same list. So it kind of comes down to, you know, do I want to make this move now? Do I want to wait a little bit, see? I mean, it certainly doesn't hurt to come into spring training with 6 able starters. You know, in case one gets hurt, obviously. And it's so tough to find pitching now. So if one does go down and we don't have a viable replacement, it's going to be tough to find one mid-season. So here's one potential Kolten Wong deal we could do. It would be Devin Travis and David Rodriguez for Kolten Wong. Now, our available money would drop by quite a bit in this, so I would kind of want to see if St. Louis would retain salary, but they wouldn't even do that. So that's the only thing about that kind of deal is it kind of zaps up most of our remaining money. And if we wanted to do a deal like this and another deal for Betances, we'd pretty much have to include a guy like Perez just to be able to afford the contracts. So I think as it stands right now, I don't want to do either of these moves quite yet. There are 2 moves I'm definitely going to come back to, especially the Betances one. The Betances one is the one I feel like I would be willing to make right now, because it's either, you know, I could make a move like a Devin Travis, and maybe I could I try that Rodriguez guy and Travis for Betances? I think I would consider doing that instead of signing a reliever. I've already sort of talked about why Betances and his contract situation makes sense for us. So David Rodriguez, they would still want a little bit more, at least, probably. Yeah, so they're still looking for another, you know, sort of major league roster player. So that's a little bit rich for my blood. But, you know, as for the Kolten Wong thing, I don't think Wong is enough of an upgrade over what we have right now. I think I'm still fine for the most part coming back with the mix that we have and hoping that a couple of these guys stick for us. So I think that's going to be our move. So we still have a little bit of money to spend in free agency, so we can probably going to want to spend that on a reliever, improving those couple back-end bullpen spots. Probably 1 or 2 relievers I think we could get. Now we have 14 million left, so honestly, if we wanted to, I talked about caps maybe at 3.7, but if we wanted to go for, I would almost say Jerry's Familia. What do the scouts think about him? He's still solid and dependable setup role. That would be it's still a little bit rich for me, but his price might further come down as well if we go to the Offseason Center. Are there any teams interested in him right now? Probably. No, yeah, there are a couple. What about relievers just below him? So if you want Familia, we got to strike now. If you want Familia, I feel like you almost just got to go to Britton at that point, though. That's the thing. Because, man, Britton is such a beast in this game. I could get him for like 13 right now. The thing is, I would consider doing that if I could do the swap with the Cardinals for Wong, and I'd be fine giving up Perez, but like they would need to eat money on that, because I don't want to enter the year with only a few $1 million left of money to spend on the draft and on international free agents. But you see now, St. Louis can't even afford to do that if they take on money. So maybe if they give us cash, like if they gave us $4 million or something on top of Kolten Wong, but no, they can't even do that, I don't think. Or what if they... No, they can't even do that. So it's not going to work out for us. All right, so I think I've decided I'm going to target 2 small guys instead of going after 1 big reliever. One of them is going to be Matt Wieters. He's looking for around $5 million right now. I think we could get him on maybe even 4 or 5. That would be ideal, and I don't really want to lock him up for multiple years if I don't have to. So if possible, could we do a team option? Okay. So that's going to be that offer, and then I am going to offer up Carter Capps, probably a contract in that sort of $4 to $5 million range. Probably even less than that, actually. See if I can get him for like 3. Oh, yeah, I definitely could. I don't know. I guess the Astros have made the offer already, so we'll have to give him at least 3. And it'd be nice if we could get team options. Cool. So that leaves us with, I think, about $7 million left to spend, which I want to save that money and be able to use that in season. And honestly, it would almost be more ideal to have more money than that saved. But I think if we got, well, now, no, see, I don't really trust this Nick Chiofu guy, even though he has good defense. I think May and Wieters is a good mix at catcher. And then, you know, the rest of the roster we're pretty much fine with, I think. We would definitely throw Caps in there over Jake Barrett at this point. And then we could use, you know, one of those starters in the bullpen as well. Let's activate sale. And I'm going to skip forward, see what those guys say. We've got the Rule 5 draft, so I got to remind myself what our minor league affiliates are. Durham and Montgomery. We'll do Rule 5 draft pool. Sort by potential. See if we see any of our guys. My rule of thumb is over 2-star potential. I'll add them to the 40-man. We're looking at Montgomery. Here's one. Montgomery and Durham. And the Rule 5 draft is definitely not as good in this year's game. Usually in past year's games, you've been able to find at least candidates for guys in your bullpen. Like, normally there will be a couple guys who you would say, all right, maybe this guy could stick in the bullpen. And then sometimes you would even be able to find, like, good bench players. So we got someone picked. We lost Hunter Wood. Okay. Probably would have liked to keep him. He looks like he'd be a nice depth starter, but definitely not the end of the world. So let's go back to the Rule 5 draft. Continue draft. All right. So we've got, this Brad. This guy's 6'9". I think I'm just going to draft this guy solely because he's 6'9". Why not try him over Kevin Segrist? I mean, he's 6'9". Not only is that a nice height, but it's super tall. So, all right, we'll draft him. On to the next pick. And the way I look at the Rule 5 draft, I'm sure there is like some sort of penalty for returning guys. I don't even know what it would be. Maybe you have to pay the guy's contract or something, but it seems like teams, I mean, I know in real life teams probably make more Rule 5 picks than they do in the game, but it seems like in the game, like, teams always pass on the Rule 5 picks, and I don't really understand why, because it's kind of low-risk, high-reward type of players. I mean, not high reward, but I mean, if you get a nice reliever, that's worth something. Even this guy looks like, why not? I mean, I'm just going to bring this guy to spring training. Why the hell not? See how he does. If he has a good spring, maybe he'll make the roster. So, Carter Caps has gotten a better offer from the Astros. I tried upping it to 3.25. He wants even more than that. I think I'm just going to pass on him, to be honest. We got those 2 guys in the Rule 5 draft. I think, you know, we can have those guys in the mix. We'll have that started, like I said. Maybe even keep Segrist around. I think we're fine without Caps. We can probably find someone very similar to him during the year for cheaper. Even though I do like his ratings, I think he could be a good reliever. I just don't really think it's worth the investment. I think having the extra money around will be nice just to have in midseason. And we'll see if we get Wieters. I mean, I'm still holding out hope on him. So there we go. Matt Wieters signs on. And it looks like that was a good move both on paper and in the room, because the players do appreciate the new leadership of Matt Wieters. So I'm glad to see that. I didn't even really think about that when I signed him, but he is a clubhouse leader according to his personality. Good defensive ratings. The base running not very good, but he was a 3-win player last year. I mean, if he was that for us, I would be so thrilled. I'm really not even expecting that, to be honest. I'm planning on using him in more of a platoon role with Luke May, but we'll see how. I mean, I'm not going to be the one using him, so we'll see how Kevin Cash employs him. And all right, so we've got how much money left? I want to say something like $10 million, but I think I'm going to save most of that $10 million. Yeah, we have exactly $10 million actually. So I'm going to save that unless I see a guy for like $1 million that I like, that I might sign. But if not, I'm just going to skip forward to the end of spring training. We'll set the opening day rosters and such, and get on out of here. So we've got breaking news here. As the preseason begins, Major League Baseball announces a rule change. The minimum service time required for free agency has been increased to 7 years. And that is actually a really nice little boost for us, I think, because free agency, not really an avenue where we're going to be looking to make a lot of splashes. Of course, we did just make one pretty big one with Chris Sale. But for the most part, having that extra year of team control is really going to benefit a small market club like us. So that's a pretty big deal. I'm really excited about that. I think it's going to make it a little bit easier on us. which is good. Final off-season festivities starts with the roster cut down, the final roster cut down. So let's send Chiuffo down. We are going to send Daniel Robertson down as well. Riley Unroe getting optioned. Willie Adams, torn anterior cruciate ligament ACL, so he is out for the year. It looks like 5 to 6 months. Could be back late, but that's a blow for us, a blow to our infield depth. Luckily, we've got plenty of guys. As for the outfield, there's a little bit of a tougher decision on some of these guys. Hernandez, though, he can go. Justin Williams maybe stays. Christian Walker maybe. Dwight Smith. Parker, we're going to DFA him. Of course, he was claimed off waivers last year. Johnny Field and Patrick Leonard probably can both go. We'll do the final cuts for the lineup in a sec. Let's just get to the rotation here. So, Segrest, I think we're going to keep Week over him. Not the greatest of spring trainings, but Segrest, only the 2-star rating, so he'll get DFA'd. Other than that, Alexis Tapia definitely needs more seasoning in the minors. Taylor Guerrero, will send him down. So the question is, do we want to keep Jake Barrett or Denny Farquhar? I think Farquhar can get sent down. Hopefully he has an option left. I don't want to waive him, but I have a feeling we're going to have to. Yep. Unless we want to send. We could send Biagini down. He might need the time in the AAA more, to be honest. Let's do that. And then the question is now, I mean, Archer, we want to keep him around. We want to give him a chance, but, man, his ratings are getting so bad. It's going to be tough. Barrett could get the hook. His ratings have improved, but I still don't. Well, maybe we send Barrett down. Does he have options? Yes, he does. So we got to cut one more pitcher and one more batter. Who is it going to be? I think it's going to be Jose Leclerc. No, his ratings have gone up a little bit too. I want to see what he can do. He had a good spring. So I kind of want to give him a shot. This is making it very tough. Birdie, could he get sent down? I think Birdie's going to be the odd man out now. But it's going to be a little bit of, I'm going to have a quick hook with some of these guys. If Archer struggles early on, if either of our Rule 5 guys struggle early on, they're both going to get, or all three of those guys could get the hook, and the guys who be sent down could be right back up. So we'll see how that goes. As for the final bat we're going to cut, it's going to be an outfielder, and I think it's going to be Christian Walker. So we'll keep Justin Williams and Dwight Smith around, along with Devin Travis and Luke May. That's our 25-man. Let's delete all of our messages. Get to opening day. We will check waivers. We will check out the preseason predictions, top prospects, and then end off the episode right there. So here we are, opening day, top 100 prospects. We do not have any in the top 10. Do see some names I recognize here. Ian Anderson, pride of Clifton Park, New York. Let's see, preseason prediction. So we had a pretty good spring, and look at that, 95 projected wins. So that was preseason prediction. Spring coverage, we went 19-9. We had a really good spring, very good pitching for the most part. And now we are expected to do big things this year. Look at that, 3.95 ERA. That would be best in the AL by a pretty good margin. Not really a lot of teams coming close. So that would be really impressive. Look at those strikeouts and those walks. So they think we're going to have a really good staff this year. That's what I'm hoping. But we will see. Do we have top 10 pitchers? We've got Sale projected in there. Only a 3.94 ERA, though. And Blake Snell with a 4 ERA. Hoping both those guys can do a little bit better than that. Samardzija projected to be a top 10 arm in the AL. That's a little surprising. And we've got Josh Bell in there as a projected top 10 bat. So cool stuff all around right there. Let's check the waiver wire. See if there's anyone worth claiming here. Possibly Pedro Baez. Not too bad, but we've kind of already had a bit of a reliever crunch, so not looking to add one. Other than that, no, not Preston Tucker. I was hoping it was Kyle Tucker. Shea Simmons wouldn't be bad, but if I'm not going to get Baez, I'm not going to take Simmons. And other than that, I'm not really seeing anyone that piques my interest right here, so I think I'm going to pass on all these guys. That is going to do it. I hope you guys did enjoy this episode. Let me know what you think of the moves. I think finally we might be able to take that next step towards contention this year, but we will see. So that's going to do it. Hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for watching. I'm out. Peace.